Want to teach your kids financial literacy, but not sure where to start? Greenlight can help. With Greenlight, parents can keep an eye on kids' spending and saving, while kids and teens use a card of their own to build money confidence. As a parent, you can send instant money transfers, set up chores, automate allowance, and more. It's a convenient way to run your household, customized to your family's needs, and the easy way to raise financially smart kids. Get started with Greenlight today and get your first month free at greenlight.com/Odyssey.
When you're worried about underarm sweat and odor, it can be distracting. Like this. Or this. Or even this. It's time to silence those distractions with a spray of powerful Dove Men Plus Care Antiperspirant. Featuring our 72-hour protection and soothing 1/4 moisturizing cream. Because when you forget about your underarms, you can focus on being unforgettable. Dove Men. Forgettable underarms, unforgettable you.
The comfort of your favorite seat is now your comfy car-selling command center, thanks to Carvana.
It doesn't get any better than this.
Your favorite seat's the best spot in the house. Make it even better by entering your license plate or VIN and getting a real offer in minutes.
There really is no place like home.
And speaking of home, Carvana will pick up your car from yours after you finalize your offer. Visit Carvana.com or download the app and sell your car from your comfy place.
It's time. Time to get in the zone. Time to get in the zone with the 49ers Web Zone. This is the No Huddle Podcast with Al and Brian.
What's up, faithful? This is Al Sacco here with you for another edition of the 49ers Web Zone No Huddle Podcast. We are part of the Odyssey Network. Please subscribe wherever you get your podcast. Please subscribe to YouTube. So this is the 8th year. We are going into the 8th season of the No Huddle Podcast, which is insane to me. Absolutely insane that we've been doing this. I haven't been here the whole time. This has got to be my 7th season doing it out of the 8th. I was with KNBR for 1 year, so I wasn't there that year. We had Rob Stats Guerrera and Levin Black replace me that year on the show, and they did a great job. But this show has been around. We're going into our 8th season. We started when Kyle Shanahan started. So we've been here with you this whole regime. Our first show was actually after the Niners signed Earl Mitchell. Do you remember him? He had a press conference, and that was back when I did more reporting stuff, and I was on the press conference call. We went and talked about the Earl Mitchell press conference and what he would mean for the team. Absolutely bizarre that it's been that long, but it's really cool, man. It's been awesome to be able to do this with the fans. We love it. And 8 years, this is the first year. So obviously we've been a podcast. We've done some things here and there on YouTube. The show has never been simultaneously on YouTube as it has the same time being the podcast. And this year we're doing that. If you've been listening or paying attention, you know, we started with YouTube doing it consistently, maybe about a month and a half, 2 months ago. And it's gone okay. We're still kind of trying to figure it out. But you can watch us on YouTube. You can listen to us on the pod. You can do both. If you're a fan of the show, subscribe to the pod, subscribe to the YouTube station, and whatever you're in the mood for. You could watch us, you could listen to us, but it does help us, and we appreciate you guys. So subscribe. All right. Some news. Some great news, I think, if you're a 49ers fan, and that's that the team re-signed Jauan Jennings to a 2-year deal worth up to $15.4 million with $10.5 million guaranteed. So Jennings hadn't signed his restructured tenure. So this is basically a new deal starting this season. And that guaranteed money assures that he's part of the equation for the next 2 years. So Jennings, to me, is one of those guys. He's one of those role players. They don't get a lot of notoriety because I guess they're not huge parts of the team. They're not stars. They're not on the field every play. But what Jennings is he's a 7th round pick. That's another in a long line of these late round picks for the 49ers who've made huge contributions to the team. And they're a big part of the reason why they have one of the best rosters in the NFL recently. These late round guys that they've been able to bring in, you know, like a Jennings or a Lenora, Hufanga, these guys that they've brought in late and have contributed. That's a huge part of why teams need role players. Your Debos, your Ayuks, your Kittles, your McCaffreys. Yeah, you need those stars too on offense, but you need guys who are going to make the tough catch, guys who maybe the defense isn't keying in on, and it's 3rd and 8. And they make that huge play to move the chains. And we know if you're a 49ers fan, you know that Jennings' nickname is 3rd and 1 because of all the clutch catches he's made on 3rd down. But he's just been so much more than that as a player to me. So number one, he's a great teammate. He puts the team first, and he's not afraid to do the dirty work. And we know Kyle Shanahan loves him because he's a great blocker, and he takes pride in that part of his game. And Kyle wants his receivers to block. You remember a couple, 2-3 years ago, Brandon Ayuk was in the doghouse earlier in the season. And part of that, I think, was because Kyle wanted to see more from him in the run game, blocking. And if you remember in the Packers playoff game, when Jennings blocked Jair Alexander into the Gatorade buckets, I came across this quote when I was researching some stuff with the Jennings contract, which Shanahan said after that game. So he was asked about the Jennings block, and Shanahan said, what he did on that, taking the guy into the Gatorade, that's what he does every play at practice. Our defense tried to fight him all last year because they thought he was going above and beyond. And then the next day in the meeting, I had to show them that he does at every single play, and it's not personal. This is just how he blocks. He stops after the whistle. He drives into people. He puts his hands and face into people and never stops. And when it's over, usually goes back in the huddle. But usually people take it personal, but it's not personal. It's just what he does. And that's a huge part of the 49ers identity. The 49ers are scrappy. The 49ers receivers are blockers. They're not afraid to get dirty. They're not afraid to go downfield and block. And when you look at the years of the glory years with Montana and Rice and Taylor and Craig, I saw a highlight not long ago. I was watching a Roger Craig highlight, and it was a long run by Craig. But one of the things I noticed was John Taylor was downfield just absolutely blocking his ass off. And Jerry Rice wasn't afraid to block either. And it's, when you have guys who are prolific like that, who are not afraid to get their hands dirty. And Jennings is that kind of dude, man. He really is. And he's going to be a huge piece of this team moving forward. And his numbers, well, they don't jump out at you because, again, he's been more of a role player. He normally only sees the field on third down. So if you look at his career, so in 2021, he had 38 targets. This is rookie season. 38 targets, 24 catches, 282 yards, 5 TDs in 16 games. A lot of TDs for only 24 catches. 2022, he had 56 targets, 35 catches, 416 yards, and 1 TD in 16 games. Last year, only played 13 games, 33 targets, I should say, 19 catches, 265 yards, and 1 touchdown. So overall in his career, in the 3 years, he's had 127 targets, 78 catches, 963 yards, and 7 TDs. But he's been clutch with a lot of big catches to extend drives. And not only that, when you're with the 49ers, regular season stats are great. But what do you do in the postseason? Because this team, especially in the Shanahan era, they play a lot of postseason games, and they win a lot of postseason games. And I know we're still waiting for that title, but the Niners are still a team that counts on guys to make big plays in the postseason. And I always say with this group, I know that they don't have a title, but you still have to be a special group of players to continually win in the postseason. Winning in the postseason is hard, even if you have a talented team. Ask the Ravens, ask the Cowboys, ask even the Bills to an extent. They have these talented teams. They have these really good quarterbacks, but they can't win in the postseason. The Niners have been able to win in the postseason with mediocre quarterback play, and now very good quarterback play from Purdy. But with Garoppolo, they weren't getting, they only throwing for about 150 yards a game and still winning all those postseason matchups because they have special players. You just don't replace special players like that. When you have a clutch player who listen, it's the playoffs. Is he going to step up? When you have those guys, you have to keep those guys in the fold because they're not easy to come by. Again, as some of these teams who ring off 10, 12 wins every year in the postseason, but then every year in the regular season, but then in the postseason, maybe they get a win, maybe, but there's been a lot of disappointments. So Jennings has, this past year, he had 13 targets in the postseason, 10 catches, 111 yards, and 1 touchdown. He had 5 catches for 61 yards in that game against the Packers, and we know about his Super Bowl game. 4 catches, 42 yards, 1 TD, and the 21-yard TD pass. He probably would have been the Super Bowl MVP, especially if they completed the pass in overtime. That would have been another touchdown for him. It's hard to imagine that he wouldn't have been the Super Bowl MVP. And if you look at what he did versus the other wide receivers, so again, he had 10 catches, 111 yards, and a touchdown in the Niners' 3 playoff games. Kittle had 8 for 112 and a touchdown. Ayuk had 9 receptions for 149 yards and a touchdown. and Debo was 13 from 146 with no TDs. So Jennings' production was right there with the other receivers. He was used kind of as much as those other receivers. They had more targets, but Jennings caught 10 of those 13 targets. So when you look at that final line, when you look at those final stats, Jennings was a huge part of that postseason run. So this was a great signing to me for them. And now, what does it mean for the future? I saw some things where they were like, oh, well, what does this mean? What does this mean for Debo? What does this mean for Aiyuk? For this season, unless the Aiyuk contract negotiations completely fall apart, I don't think it means anything. So the way that I see it shaking out, I see the Niners have 5 locks right now for their wide receivers. BA, assuming the contract stuff doesn't fall apart. Debo, can't imagine they're going to do anything with him after June 1st. It doesn't make sense to me. You're trying to win another Super Bowl. Keep him around. Jennings, so there's your top 3 like you had last year. And then you have the 2 rookies, Pearsall and Cowing. Well, I think Cowing's left too. So those 5 are your wide receiver room. And then you're going to have a 6th receiver. Could be Conley if they go the vet route. I know Trent Taylor's there. Maybe if he wins the return job. Ronnie Bell's a young guy that maybe they still want to keep around. So that 6th position in the wide receiver room is wide open. But I think those top 5 are locks. And another reason you want to keep Debo and BA in the fold this year, again, I think they want BA long-term, but Debo, this is probably his last season. But you absolutely need him in the fold this year because you've got these 2 rookie wide receivers. You don't know what you're going to get out of them. And a lot of times Shanahan doesn't always like to play rookies. So you want to keep those guys, make another run with this core, make another run at the Super Bowl. And I do want to say this too, like, I feel like if you look at social media or just these articles, the business of football tells you that Debo Samuel is not going to be on the team next year. But there's kind of this notion of like, I don't know. It's almost like, oh, well, Debo's gone. Well, we'll just wait until Debo's gone. Why the hell would we want Debo to be gone? I know in the business aspect of it, it looks like that's what's going to happen. And if you're I always talk about the reality of the situation. If you're in the reality of the situation, this is probably Debo's last year. But can we appreciate what Debo Samuel's done for this team? Can we appreciate that Debo Samuel, when the Niners were 3-5 in 2022 and looked like their season was over? Can we appreciate what he did for this team? Can we appreciate that he was one of the best players in football at that point, that he put them on his back? Sorry, was it 21 or 22? Sorry, I forgot the year mixed up. But Debo was unbelievable. 1,495 yards. Just plays where they would throw him screens and he just runs 80 yards. The game against the Bears, when he took that 3rd in forever and ran inside the 5-yard line deep in his own territory, that changed the season around. Debo put his team, I know he didn't have a great Super Bowl, but there were many occasions where Debo put the team on his back. So I know that he's not as likely as last season, but can we stop with the, oh yeah, he's gone? How about we're like, thank God we have him for another year. And maybe we could make a run at a Super Bowl, because Debo has absolutely earned the respect of 49ers fans, regardless of what happens from here on out. It's a business, and the Niners have to make some decisions. And the only way I can see Debo around next season is if this Aiyuk thing completely falls apart and the Niners have to make a move. I don't foresee that happening. We've been through this in other off seasons. We went through it last year with Bosa. I think the Niners want to get it done. I think Aiyuk's team wants to get it done, but it could take a while, and it could take into training camp, because Aiyuk is going to want to get closer to Amon-Ra St. Brown than Nico Collins. So when you're looking at average year salary, he's going to want to get closer to 30 million than he has 24. And I don't know if the Niners are going to go up to 30 million. So there may have to be a compromise in there. And when you look at the amount of targets, again, where he was 37th in the league in targets, 36th in the league in targets with 105. So they're not a team that throws the ball a ton. They haven't been a team that's going to, like a CeeDee Lamb, we're going to get 180 targets a year. That's not Aiyuk's role on the team. Could it change next year if they pay him big money and Debo goes elsewhere? Yeah, you could see more targets for him, but that's kind of not the way the Niners are built. So it'll be interesting to see how it plays out. But I do think it's an upset if they don't sign Aiyuk long-term. It would really, things would have to fall apart for that.
Have you ever covered a carpet stain with a rug? Ignored a leaky faucet? Pretended your half-painted living room is supposed to look that way? Well, you're not alone. We've all got unfinished home projects. Whether it's a door that sticks, or a disorganized closet, or an AC unit that only works half the time. It all matters. You just haven't taken care of it yet. But there's an easier way. Just download the Thumbtack app. You can search for what you need done and find tons of highly rated pros right in your neighborhood. Check prices, reviews, and book a pro right on the spot. Plus, you'll know what to tackle next, because Thumbtack is the app that shows you what to do, who to hire, and when. Pull out your phone and in just a few taps, say goodbye to all those unfinished home projects and say hello to caring for your home the easier way. Download Thumbtack and start a project today.
Man, that sunset is gorgeous.
Grill, patio, sunset. Hard to get better than that. Unless you're browsing Carvana's inventory while you soak it all in.
Oh, burger time.
So sit back, get comfortable. Carvana's got thousands of cars under $20,000 just waiting for you.
I could stay here forever.
Carvana, where car buying meets comfort, meets convenience. Download the app or visit Carvana.com today.
Introducing Bluehost Cloud, ultra-fast WordPress hosting with 100% uptime. Want a website with unmatched power, speed, and control? Of course you do. And now you can have all three with Bluehost Cloud, the new web hosting plan from Bluehost. Not only is Bluehost Cloud our fastest web hosting available, but it's also built for WordPress creators by WordPress experts. With 100% uptime and incredibly speedy load times, your WordPress websites will be dependable and lightning fast on a global scale. Plus, your sites can handle even the biggest traffic spikes without going down or lagging. And with Bluehost Cloud, you can get 24/7 WordPress priority support, meaning you're connected to WordPress experts anytime you need them. Not to mention, you automatically get daily backups and world-class security. So what are you waiting for? Get Bluehost Cloud today by visiting Bluehost.com. That's Bluehost.com.
Call from mom. Answer it. Call silenced.
Instacart knows nothing gets between you and the game. That's why they make ordering from your couch easy. Stock up today and get all your groceries for the week delivered in as fast as 30 minutes without missing a minute of the game.
You have 47 new voicemails.
Download the app to get free delivery on your first 3 orders while supplies last. Minimum $10 per order. Additional terms apply.
Now, I don't know if you guys knew this or not, but the 49ers are set to gain $18 million in the salary cap after June 1st. So these additional funds are going to become available to them once the release of Eric Armstead is officially complete. So they released him during free agency in March, and the money is going to hit for them at a post-June 1st designation. What can they look to do with this money? First and foremost, the first thing that pops in my head is they have to start thinking about extensions. We know Brandon Ayuk, it's big news. That's all anybody's been talking about. But there are so many players on this team that they're in their last year of their contract that you got to make some decisions on. Dre Greenlaw, assuming he comes back as Dre Greenlaw, you're going to want him around for a while. Aaron Banks, are they going to guard money's insane right now. So if they let him go, I understand that. Niners aren't a team that usually pays guards. They tend to find guards. We have Pooney that they just brought in. So he could be someone that's expendable. But then you look at the secondary, Charvarius Ward, Diamador Lenore, Hufanga. They're all free agents after this year. Niners have to make some decisions there, and they should start doing some extensions now with some of these guys that they say, all right, these are our long-term fixes here. If you ask me who the long-term guy that they're going to say that this is our priority, I think it's going to be Lenore, because he's younger than Ward. He's very versatile. He can play inside, outside. He's ascending. I mean, Ward just had a phenomenal season, but Lenore is ascending too. I think he's the guy that they're going to try to sign. And Ward, it's up in the air just because of how expensive he is. I'll talk a little bit more about the safeties in a bit. But the other place where they could put their money, and I talked about it last show, is if they want to give Christian McCaffrey a bit of a pay bump. And I don't know, again, I'm not sure if that's where McCaffrey's mind is or not. He just, he didn't show up to the voluntary OTAs. There's been rumors about what he wants to do with his contract. So not sure where his mind is on that. But if the Niners do say, hey, we're going to give you a bit of a pay bump in 2024, some guaranteed money in 2025. They could maybe use some of that money for the raise this year. But looking at that safety group now, another move that the Niners can make, the free agent that's out there that I think is a great fit for them. And Albert Breer was just talking about this from SI, that he also believes this free agent is a great fit for the 49ers. Justin Simmons, the safety, who's a 4-time second-team All-Pro. He's 31 years old, so it'd be a short-term fix. But he has 30 career interceptions, and he just led the league in 2022 with 6 interceptions. He had 3 last year. He was actually with Brandon Staley with the Broncos in 2019 when Staley was the outside linebackers coach. And that was the year right before he got the Rams DC job. So why do the 49ers need Justin Simmons? If you look at their safety depth chart, it's worrisome to me. So right now, what you have in that safety group, you have Jair Brown, who played well at times going last year, but do we know that he can be the answer as a full-time starting safety? I don't know that yet. I think that's a question mark. I think he would have to go in there and they have to find that out. Hufanga's coming back from his ACL. There's rumblings that we've heard that maybe the Niners don't view him as a long-term fix. He was slow to begin with, and now coming off an ACL, is that going to hurt him? They're not going to really know that till they see him on the field. Now, the Niners defense was better with Hufanga on the field. And I know Hufanga didn't have as good of a season last year before he got hurt as he did the previous year. But the numbers say the Niners are better when he's out there. We'll see how that works this year. Have to assume those two are the starters right now if Hufanga is healthy. Other than that, you have George Odom, who's a core special teams guy, but he's a special teams guy. And you have Malik Mustafa, who they just drafted. Now, I like Mustafa a lot, and I think he's going to be a player, but is he going to be a player this season? Again, we know Kyle likes to bring the rookies in slowly. He did with Hufanga. So not sure there. Another thing to consider is with Dre Greenlaw hurt and Brandon Staley overseeing the defense. I know Nick Sorensen's the coordinator, but it seems like it's going to be Brandon Staley's defense. Believe you're going to see a lot of 3 safety looks from the Niners. One player that you have to consider with that is Ezekiel Turner, who they signed from the Cardinals, who he's listed as a linebacker, but he's smaller and he played safety with the Cardinals too. He could come in and play in that 3 safety look, in that pass coverage look as well, if the Niners decide to go that route. So that's right now what you're looking at in the safety room is Brown, Hufanga, Mustafa, Odom. And then depending on what they're going to do with Turner, he'll be listed as a linebacker, but maybe he could be that linebacker kind of, I'm a linebacker, but I'm a kind of a hybrid safety type thing, and they'll play him there on passing downs. But again, the Niners aren't a team where you're saying, oh, I hope we can make playoffs this year. I'd like to win the division. It is Super Bowl or bust. As long as they have this core here, it's Super Bowl or bust. So to me, that safety group is a little bit worrisome. If Hufanga doesn't come back, he's not Hufanga, or he takes a step back, that's a huge blow to them because you got the rookie. And again, you have Odom, who's more a special teams guy. And Jair Brown's a huge question mark. Played well in the Super Bowl, made some big plays down the stretch last year. I thought he improved. I feel better with Justin Simmons in there. Bring a vet in, former All-Pro, Pro Bowler. You have this team that's looking to win the Super Bowl again this year. You got to bring in a guy like that. You have the money. And I don't think Simmons is really in a rush to make a decision. He's kind of been waiting. But right now, the Niners, I think, should put full court press on him. I've seen some things, too, where there's interest with the Rams. You don't want him to go to the Rams. The Rams are a team that kind of scares me a little bit this year. I know the defense is figuring it out. They could have some issues there on defense, but you put in a guy like that, don't give them pieces on defense to get better because I think their offense is going to be really good this year. And the Rams, who last year, everybody thought they were going to go 6 wins, 7 wins, then they're making the playoffs. And this year, I really believe they're going to be right there with the Niners. If they stay healthy and Stafford stays healthy, they're going to be in the 10-11 win range and be there with the Niners for the division. So don't let the Rams go and get Justin Simmons, please. If you're the Niners, go out and get Justin Simmons, add him to this defense, which, everybody thinks the Niners defense, like, oh, it's the Niners defense, it's going to be great. I do have some concerns this year with the defense. I just mentioned the safety group. The corners I love. I love Lenore. I love Ward. We'll see what Green does. Yadam, I heard, didn't have a great practice the other day, but again, I wasn't there. It's just what I heard on the internet. We'll see with Yadam. He had a really good year with the Saints last year, but I like their corners. I worry about the linebackers if Greenlaw can't get back on the field soon. Campbell wasn't great last year. They brought him in from Green Bay. We'll see how he does in this system. But other than Warner, that worries me a little bit. Bosa's Bosa. Leonard Floyd, definitely an upgrade from last year, but 31 years old. He's getting a little bit older, and he's got his good sack numbers, but he's not necessarily somebody who kind of pushes the pocket on every play. With Bosa on the other side, he'll get less attention. Maybe he'll be able to, see, but definitely an upgrade at the end. Gross Matos, we don't know. We don't know what he's going to be. And I am worried about the run defense in the interior. Hargrave is not a run stopper. Malik Collins, I like that pickup. Jordan Elliott had a lot of lapses in the run game with the Browns. So I'm still worried that teams can run on the Niners this year. So anytime you could put an impact player anywhere on your team, I think you have to do it. But for the Niners, especially on defense, Simmons will help them a ton. Again, he gets turnovers. He's been in the league for a long time. He's been a high profile, high impact player for a long time. If you have the ability to go out and get that guy, even if it's on a 1-year deal, you do it, because this year is super important again, because you're going for the Super Bowl again this year. So we're recording this on May 30th. We'll see. I hope the next show we have, we're talking about Justin Simmons being a part of the 49ers and what that means to the defense. I'm Al Sacco. Thanks for listening.
9-0-3. 1, 2, 3.
.2400 Sports is an Odyssey company.
You don't just live in your home. You live in your neighborhood as well. So when you're shopping for a home, you want to know as much about the area around it as possible. Luckily, Homes.com has got you covered. Each listing features a comprehensive neighborhood guide from local experts. Everything you'd ever want to know about a neighborhood, including the number of homes for sale, transportation, local amenities, cultural attractions, unique qualities, and even things like median lot size and a noise score. Homes.com. We've done your homework.